Hello everyone, welcome to the last Monday in January 2024. My name's Mark. I own and run the Purple Penny along with my wife Catherine. We do these videos every week, assuming that we're not away, and we've been doing that for several years now. The shop is coming up to its 5th birthday here in Moores and Lakes. We're just a small family run coin and banknote shop in the northern suburbs of Adelaide, and we do these videos because we find them very enjoyable. It's a great way of interacting with people all around Australia and all around the world. And I do thank everyone who's watching today live on Facebook and watching later on YouTube, where all these videos end up. Now, today being the last Monday of the month means that we have our live question and answer session. So that basically means that you can ask me a question, and you'll either get a carefully considered response or wild speculation, depending on how I feel and what the question is. So if you do have any questions, please save them up. We've got 4 already that people have popped up on Facebook for me. If you do have any questions, save it for the Q&A session, which will be in about 10 minutes after we cover off on all the news. Just a few hellos. Hello Gary, Greg, Paul, Peter, John, Antonius, another Peter, and Leonie, and Catherine, who is out there doing the mailing like she always is on Mondays. Right, let's jump into the news. First thing, we'll look at the 35th anniversary $2 sets. Thank you to Peter Andrews, who is watching, for compiling this data and giving me a call 15 minutes ago just to have a chat about it. So there's all of the daily sales of the 2023 35th anniversary $2 set. Now, I thought that this would be interesting over the next few weeks because of the ballot that happened last week, where the Mint got rid of the remainder of their stock. So we can see at the last day there, which is up until today, that some of the prices have started going back over $400. But Peter does add 2 caveats to that. First is that the volume of sales has dropped away, so there's very few sales. And if you have a look at the sales that are over $400, it seems to be that it is shoe resellers buying and selling them amongst themselves. So, you know, whether those sales are real or not is up for debate. We do know that there are Facebook groups and Discord groups and things like that where these resellers gather and discuss tactics and ways of profiting from collector communities. So perhaps there's something going on there. Anyway, the price hasn't really changed. They're still available fairly readily at between $300 and $330 on eBay and on social media. So we'll just keep monitoring that as long as Peter is willing to compile this information for me. So thanks again, Peter, for doing that. Right, a few more hellos. Hello Richie, Ray, Gwen, Peter, Tanya, Angela, Samantha, and Bevan. So hello everyone, and thanks for joining in. Right, so we'll jump into the main news slide here. Firstly, thank you to a person on Facebook who I was introduced to by someone I know, and he found a lovely 50-cent error. Now, based on the images I saw, I'm pretty sure it's a real error, but I'd need to see it in hand to just be 100% sure. But I have seen things like this before, so I'm pretty sure it's a real error. So it's a Jody Clark 50-cent piece that you can see there, 2022, and it's got a curved piece of yellow coloured metal in it. And if you look at the surface of the 50-cent around the piece of yellow coloured metal, you can see that it is formed around that piece of metal, which, you know, I guess if someone was a jeweller, they could set a piece of metal into it like that and have that same sort of effect, but it's the sort of effect that I've seen around other strike-through errors. This is a strike-through error. Now, what is that piece of metal? Well, we'll probably never know. It could be a a bit of a screw thread, a brass screw thread. It could be a bit of extruded finning off of a aluminium bronze coin, such as a $1 coin or a $2 coin. It could be just a bit of scrap that got into the blank hopper from somewhere. I guess we'll probably never know, but it is a pretty spectacular error. And you might remember several weeks ago I posted up a 2022 Poppy $2 coin that had a piece of green plastic on it, and that had been struck through the plastic, and the area around the plastic looks similar to this one. So thank you to Aaron Smith who found this coin and for being happy to share the pictures with me. Pretty cool error to have found in change there. Now I thought I would just share some of the interactions that we have with some people in the shop. So I got a phone call from someone on Saturday. The phone call went along the lines of, I have a $1 note. I was told by a friend of mine that you'd be really interested in it. I said okay, and I asked what sort of $1 note it was, and he said, oh, it's a Coombs Wilson $1 note. And Coombs Wilson $1 notes were issued in 1966, and in better condition. They are reasonably collectible. We don't get a lot of them because most of them were worn out and destroyed. And I said, well, take some pictures of both sides of the note and send it through, and I'll get back to you via text message. We do that for a couple of reasons. One is that it gives us an easy way of gauging the quality of the material that the person has, because it's very difficult to do that over the phone. Our idea of what good condition is and other people's ideas are often very different. And second is it allows us to I guess head people off at the pass, because we don't want to waste people's time by bringing things in here that aren't worth their time bringing them in here. And finally, of course, when we're open, it is difficult to give people the time that they deserve on the phone, because we are open and we have a counter sales. So if people can answer us via text message, then we can take our time getting back to them and deal with it properly. Anyway, the gentleman sent me a picture of a very crinkled $1 note, and the things that matter with $1 notes are the signatures and the serial numbers. Now, 99% of the $1 notes that we get in here are Johnston Stone $1 notes, and they're the ones that were released from 1979 till 1984 when the $1 coin came in. And why are they most common? Well, because they were the last ones that were issued. And of course, when the $1 came in, the $1 coin came in, everyone said, okay, put these $1 notes aside because they'll be worth something one day. And what are Johnston Stone $1 notes worth? Well, we sell an entire bundle. If you want an entire bundle of 100, there's one out the front of the shop at the moment for $500, and that's a bundle of 100 notes. It's $5 a note, and they're uncirculated. Once they're circulated at all to us, they're really just worth face value. So I replied to this gentleman just saying that it's a Johnston Stone $1 note and it's worth $1, and his response was, whatever, I just sold it to a coin and note dealer in Halifax Street. He gave me $750 for it. Now, there's a few problems with that. Firstly, there are no coin and banknote dealers in Halifax Street here in Adelaide. In fact, there are only 2 coin and banknote dealers here in Adelaide. There's us here in Mawson Lakes, and there's Jerry McGinley at the Toss of a Coin on Brighton Road at Brighton. Secondly, he didn't get $750 for it because you can come into our shop and buy these for $1.30 each. So no one would have paid him $750 for it. So if I was to give someone a job here valuing $1 notes that come in over the counter, if I told you to say they're only worth $1 each, you'll be right about 999 times out of 1,000, because that's what they're worth, $1 each, in heavily circulated condition like this. So it gives you a taste of, I guess, the day-to-day activities that we go through, providing values via phone calls or text messages or emails, and it also gives you a taste, I guess, of what some people think common things are actually worth, and we'll just put aside the fact that childish lying at the end about the value of a common $1 note. Right, next item was, let me just go to the news slide here. I don't know whether you've noticed, but the last 3 weeks I have seen a number of articles pop up in the mainstream online media about what coins are valuable. And the articles range from deranged through to not too bad, and the deranged ones are just some, obviously, cadet journalist cobbling together a whole bunch of previous articles and stolen images and incorrect values and incorrect information and posting up as quickly as possible. Right through to better ones where the journalist has actually interviewed someone with some actual knowledge. And there was a good one that popped up this morning. I saw it in the Herald Sun and the Canberra Times and a few other places, and the journalist had interviewed Joel Candia of The History of Money, which is, Joel's a very popular TikToker. And if you want to jump onto the internet and read that article today, then it's not bad. The values are pretty on the ball. Joel's explanation about why some coins are worth more than others is pretty accurate as well. So, as always, do take these articles with a grain of salt and perhaps try to understand where the journalist has sourced the information from. So kudos to Joel for providing some good information in that article today. Other bit of news, Great Collections, who is an auction house in the USA who are closely affiliated with PCGS, just achieved a record for a Sacagawea dollar quarter mule. So in the year 2000, someone at the US Mint in Philadelphia did something wrong, whether deliberately or accidentally, and paired up a 25-cent or quarter George Washington obverse die with the reverse of a Sacagawea dollar. And there was at least 3 pairs of dies that were recorded and struck, they believe, about 350,000 of these mules. Not sure what a mule is. A mule is a coin that is struck with dies that were not meant to be used together. 350,000 struck. The US Mint actually got wind of what had happened and managed to recover almost all of them. They destroyed 350,000 coins, but to date 20 have actually surfaced in circulation. So just 20. Compare that with the year 2000 Australian dollar 10-cent mule, and that has the mintage in the high thousands, perhaps 10,000, perhaps 20,000. No one really knows. Anyway, the single finest graded one of these, it's not the single finest, the equal highest graded one of these, a MS66 graded by PCGS, was just auctioned by Great Collections, and it realised 192,000 US dollars, which is a record price for one of these coins. So, interestingly, this is a mule that has a double rim, because of course not all mules have double rims. This one does, because the US quarter die is smaller than the US dollar die, so you have that extra rim around the outside of George Washington's head there. Now, next item is only loosely related to coins. It's more archaeological and historical, and I found it just to be interesting. In 1845, an expedition was launched from the UK to find the Northwest Passage, and the Northwest Passage was a theorised way of sailing around the north of Canada and coming to Russia and the west coast of North America. And an expedition was launched with 2 ships from the UK in 1945, 129 crew on the 2 ships, the HMS Erebus and the HMS Terror. Now, they were actually, in 1845, got stuck in ice, and they were never seen or heard from again until 1848, when an expedition was sent out to find them, and the ships were found stuck in the ice, as were a number of bodies and wreckage and things like that. So all of those men were lost as part of that expedition, unfortunately. The wrecks were located again in the 1990s, and human bones were found on the land near the wrecks, and they showed signs of being butchered. So it is believed that the 129 men did resort to eating each other to survive, but after 2 years they were all dead. And the unfortunate thing about the wrecks is that they are being affected by storms much more than what they used to be. So Canadian Archaeological Services are actually excavating the wrecks and photographing them and so on and so forth in an attempt to preserve I guess their layouts, what they contained and things like that. And I guess it's a bit sad that the wrecks themselves are still full of the everyday detritus of the 129 men that were lost, including coins, pistols, jars, medical supplies, clothing, boots, jewellery and all that sort of stuff. All the stuff that really was useless to keep them alive in the 2 years that those ships were stuck in the ice. Last story for today before we get on to the questions is the Reserve Bank has just released a study about the use of cash in Australia. As you would know, I am a great supporter of the use of cash, and I believe that it needs to keep getting used for a number of reasons. Firstly, it's been a number of research papers have suggested that people have trouble controlling their spending when they're not using cash. If they're using electronic transactions, they tend to spend more money. And the other, of course, is that credit card processing companies and banks manage to inject themselves into every transaction and take off a small percentage for effectively doing not much of anything. For here in the shop, when we're dealing with low margin products such as bullion and things like that, that's why we won't take card, because even the small cut that the bank charges us is a significant percentage of any profit that we make. Right, so what has the RBA found? Well, they found that the rate of decline of cash usage is not what they expected. It is still fairly heavily in demand. So the demand for $5, $10 and $20 notes has plateaued at about 1% a year, and it has been that since about 2010. But the demand for $50 and $100 notes is growing at 5% per year, and you can see on that graph there that the actual number of $50 notes and $100 notes in circulation has continued to grow very consistently, even with the increased use of electronic payment methods. The amount of cash being held by Australians is more than ever and growing rapidly in a way that the RBA did not expect. How much cash payments are in the economy these days? Well, it turns out it's less than what it was in 2003, which is now 21 years ago, and that card payments are nearly 6.5 times greater than what they were 21 years ago. What is really interesting is that the vast majority of the money in circulation is being hoarded either by Australians or overseas. So the RBA believes between 55 and 80% of notes are being hoarded. Between 7 and 11% are in use in the shadow economy, and between 9 and 26 are used for transactions. So, perhaps as much as 2/3 of the cash that is in circulation is being hoarded and not used daily. So that is quite interesting. Now, what do we say here? Patrick says there are still a few businesses here without FPOS and only deal with cash. And Samantha says, what can you buy of substance with $5 nowadays? We go through plenty of $5 notes in here, Samantha. You'd be surprised how many we go through. It only costs $6 for a $5 coin in here, and lots of people pay for those with $5 notes. Right, topic of the day is question and answer. If you've got any questions, please pop them in the comments now and I'll have a go at answering them. But we do have some questions that people have asked before the video today. Someone asked about the $5 note design, what the RBA is planning to do with that and what I believe they're planning to do with that. Well, the answer is I don't know what they're planning to do with it, and I have no thoughts on what they might do with it. The last information that I know of was back in February last year when the RBA announced that they would be removing the monarch's portrait from the $5 note and doing some sort of design in partnership with Indigenous or First Australians, and that was a decision that they had made in consultation with the government. What that's going to be, we don't know. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I've just talked about the amount of $5 notes in circulation and the fact that they're not growing very fast, and I know the RBA released a huge number into circulation with the 2016 new generation $5 note, so I suspect they're going to take their time on that, and I don't have any more information than what I knew in February last year. The next question was someone asking me to compare the $2 market with the 2007 real estate market in the US. 2007 real estate market in the US was when everything crashed before the GFC. Is it the same thing? Well, I always encourage people to look back further than 6 months or a year, and the trouble with coin collecting is often the people that ask questions like this have only been in and around it for a few months. The $2 market is cyclic. It goes up and it goes down, and here in the shop we've been doing it now for long enough that the story I like to tell is that not long after we became mint distributors in 2019, I think the coin was the Police Remembrance $2 coin, perhaps, the C Mint mark. It didn't sell out here, and in fact the Mint was emailing distributors to buy their leftover stock. That was only 5 years ago. Okay, that was only less than 5 years ago. So the Mint was emailing distributors to buy their leftover stock, and we bought quite a lot of it, because it's like, well, you know, how wrong can you go? So that's only 5 years ago, and in that time I've seen things such as end of World War II $2 rolls go up to nearly $700, the RAM rolls, and then crash down to below $200 in a week because of jitters that went through the market. I've seen the 2018 $2 sets rise from, you know, when we opened here they were $100. In 2017 they were $100. And I've seen them go up to $1,200 or $1,300, and now they've settled down back to $800. So if you're a new collector, don't think that these things always go up or always go down in value. It is very much determined by the psychology in the marketplace. Generally, the $2 coins have a run upwards whenever there's a $2 release. The longer there is since a $2 release, the more they drop backwards. You know, maybe the 35th anniversary $2 sets has pushed a lot of people away from the $2 market, because, you know, perhaps a lot of people bought them thinking they double or triple their money, and they haven't. And they've got rid of their other $2 for, you know, these things are going to go up and go down. That's just the way it works. And I would, you know, encourage you to think about other products that were released by the Mint in the 1990s, such as in a National Numismatic Association of Australia coin fair releases in the 1990s. I would encourage you to read up on some of those, about the fact that there were lines for hundreds and thousands of people at coin fairs to buy those, and that the prices went from $50 and $60 release prices to $1,000, and this is in 1994 and 1995. Okay, and now you can't give them away. They sell for the silver value. So you know, is the $2 market sustainable long term? They're not investments. They're just hobby. They're hobby products. They're collectibles. If you like them, buy them. But you know, are they going to hold their value longer term? I really don't know. But you know, my gut feeling says probably not, because there's going to be new products put out by the Mint, and people will move on to other hobbies, and you know, people that chase the money will move to where they think they can make the money. Right. Let's have a look at some of the comments here before we move on to the next question. Patrick says there are a few businesses around here that only deal with cash. I think it's always good to have some cash with you, just in case you do come across places that don't take card. Antonia says some restaurants prefer cash than card. They even give a discount for cash payment. Now, it's a bit debatable about why they do that, Antonius, of course. Is there a difference between grading in NGC and PCGS, says Antonius? Yes, they're different companies and they use different standards. PCGS have their own standards, NGC has their own standards, so their grading is different. Is one better than the other? Well, here in Australia at least, people seem to prefer PCGS for Australian coins, but generally around the world, most people prefer NGC for world coins. In the USA, PCGS is the preferred grader for US coins. I'm not sure why that is. There is a general perception, I think, that perhaps NGC has slightly looser, easier grading standards, and certainly you see that in sales with equivalent graded NGC coins usually selling for less than the PCGS equivalents. Samantha says, I tried to find an FPOS machine in Mawson Lakes. Perhaps you could consult with a bank and have a machine put in the shop. There is an ATM at the entrance to Woolworths, Samantha, which is 1 block away from us. Next time you come in, I'm sure Catherine will show you where that is. Hello, Matt. Sorry, the things moved there. Peter says, there are a lot of PCGS graded pre-decimals in the Downies auction. They would make a great alternative to $2 coins. Well, I did... a topic of the week a month or so ago was things to collect other than new release mint products, and pre-decimal coins is one of those. So, there are other things to collect if you get tired of the $2 bandwagon, or perhaps you get priced out of the market. There are a lot of other things to collect. Peter says NGC used to be better for error coins. I've never had coin graded by NGC as an error, Peter, so I can't comment on that. Yep, Samantha, there is an ATM just 1 block away from here, so next time you come in we'll explain where that is. Right, the next question I had, and this is a common one, is when we go cashless, what effect will that have on coin collecting? I don't believe we will go cashless. I think that it's one of these things that probably we saw a big uptake of electronic payment. The trouble is now there will always be a core of people who don't want to use electronic payments because it is easier to manage. It is easier to manage cash than it is electronic payments. And the CEO of the Mint did tell us a few years ago that tends to be younger people who don't have much money, and older people who don't have much money prefer to work with cash because it is easy to manage. And, then there's crackpots like me who prefer to pay with cash, and there's actually a lot of us around, you'd be surprised. So maybe they'll get down to 90% electronic payment and 10% cash, or 8% cash or something, but I don't think it will ever go to 0. Will it have an impact on coin collecting? Yeah, I think it will. I feel like things like $2 coins do so well because they are relatable. You can see them in your change, and perhaps when coins do fall out of circulation to a large degree, people won't find those things relatable. But there are still a lot of people that collect ancient coins, and they are certainly not in circulation. So I think there will always be a market for coin collectors, but whether it's modern product or not, I don't know. As I said, there are things to collect other than the latest releases from the Mint. What does Samantha say here? She says she's going to have to drive around and look for the ATM. No worries, Sam. Mike says they can't hack cash. Yes, this is true. Matt says NGC grade ancient and hammered coins. Yes, I do. I have a couple of NGC graded ancient coins because I think they're awesome. Greg says cash is king, and Gwen says all those people without power in Queensland, I hope they have some cash. Yeah, me too. Now, the last question that we had here was someone wanting to know about budget errors if you're just getting into collecting error coins. I got started on clip planchets. A clip planchet is a coin struck on a blank that has some of it missing. The missing part happens because of a failure in the machine that punches out the blanks. You end up with one punch overlapping an already punched blank, and they are quite inexpensive. Pre-decimal ones you can get for $10 or so. I guess if I was going to start collecting errors again, I'd probably try to collect one error from each part of the coin making process that perhaps displays a particular failure in the coin making process. A clip blank is one of those. A planchet flaw, which is a flaw in the metal that a blank is made from, is another one. And then you could do striking errors, such as when a coin is struck out of the collar die, when the obverse or reverse die is off center, when the coin is stuck in the coining chamber and struck more than once. There's all sorts of different aspects to the coin manufacturing process that can fail. If you're going to collect and just get started, I would look at as many errors as you can. Come in here and have a look around here. There's tons of errors in our albums here, and get us to explain to you what each one represents and what part of the coin manufacturing process has failed to create that error, because I do feel like if you're going to become a good error collector, you need to understand the coin manufacturing process. You need to understand all the steps of that process and where it can go wrong, because then you can look at coins that appear to be errors and understand why they're not errors, because you understand that the process can't fail in that particular way. And for me, that is the most important thing, is being able to pick errors that aren't errors. I hope that answers the question as much as possible. If you are going to buy an error, make sure you buy it off of a business or someone who knows what they're talking about. Don't buy them off of eBay unless it's a well-known error dealer. Even if it's a well-known coin dealer, they don't really necessarily know either. I freely admit that there are coin dealers in Australia that have particular subject knowledge far in advance of what I do. Whether it be British coins or ancient coins or hammered coins or whatever it happens to be. But I've seen them sell coins as errors that aren't errors, because Catherine and I know a lot about errors. So, don't just assume because they're a coin dealer that they necessarily know either. So do buy off of a reputable error dealer or collector. Right, I hope that is enough for today. Oh, hang on a second. Would you get a 2022 Britannia coin rotation die error graded? I don't know what that is. Angela, you'll have to send me a message with what that is, because I don't know what that is. And Leonie says there's too many fake errors on eBay. Sam says I have a laugh at some of the rare coins advertised on eBay as common coins. I will just share something with you while these came in last week. Sorry, probably can't see those. They're little silver 1 ounce things, but of course they're fake. They came in a huge lot of silver that we bought last week, and of course they're fake. So even here in the shop, we need to be careful what comes in over the counter. These were obvious fakes to me when I looked at them, and Catherine grabbed the magnet, and a magnet sticks to them. So that's the two sort of obvious quick tests that you can have for fakes. So you can't do that on eBay. I don't know where the person bought these, but I suspect it was off of eBay, because that's usually where these fakes come from. We had a gentleman come in a couple of weeks ago who'd bought 60 or 70 ounces of 1 ounce rounds off of eBay for less than spot price, and I said to him when he told me, oh geez, I don't know about that, they were all fake. He brought them in for me to have a look at, and they were all fake. There are very few bargains to be had on eBay, especially not with gold and silver. Right, that's it for everyone. Thank you everyone for taking part. Thank you, Sam, for so many comments. It's great to have you here taking part. Thank you, Peter, for supplying the data for the graphs. Thank you to the 4 people that answered, that asked questions before the video. It's much appreciated. We'll be back next Monday as per usual for our weekly video, and everyone stay safe, happy collecting, and bye for now.